Well, welcome to 2024. This is the Botanical Medicine Study Course with me, your host and instructor, Stephanie Georgiev. I hope you had a pleasant holiday and whatever you celebrated and wherever you were celebrating. Stay tuned for updates on the online Botanical Medicine Study Course and click below for a free introductory video and handouts. If you're like me, those days between Christmas Eve and January 6th are one long celebration of everything that tastes good, with no attention paid to caloric content, sugar or fat grams, and whatnot. I say that pleasure is healthy and everything in moderation, including moderation. But if you partook a bit too much over the holidays, never fear, January is here, and there's no time like the present to start a healthy regimen for the new year. Now, I must confess, I've had an issue with excess weight since I was a young child, and menopause really exacerbated the problem, along with aging. And well, after much effort, I'm happy to report I'm on the body mass index decline. And it's a full-time job, let me tell you. It's really an issue of health, and I'm enjoying good health these days. The whole weight loss issue is quite complex. And according to recent research, many of the pesticides used in industrial agriculture actually program your body to go into a pre-diabetic state, meaning your body is not processing nutrition properly, often called insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome, and your blood sugar levels are all over the place. This results in fat storage, even if you're not eating to your heart's delight, which I have always found quite unfair, to be honest, but I was not in the pitch meetings when designing the human body. There really is no magic pill or herb, for that matter, that can help the body process calories in a way to lose excess fat. All the diet hypes out there, every supplement or drug always has the caveat of, quote, individual results may vary, unquote, and usually are a combination of increasing exercise and decreasing calories in general. Genetics has quite a bit to do with it. We all have that friend who complains how they cannot gain weight no matter how much they eat. I worked with a family physician who was like that. She was thin as a rail, and I watched her eat copious amounts of food with no effect on her body whatsoever. I always wished I could donate my fat to her. Me, if I eat pasta 2 days in a row, I gain 3 pounds. It's very unfair. In any case, I like Michael Pollan's food manifesto from his bestseller, In Defense of Food. He says, eat food, not a lot, mostly plants. This is a great way to orient yourself to food. And I would also add, eat as organically as possible so you don't get all those chemicals that really do program your body to store fat. I also used to tell my patient to eat food that remembers where it came from. A blue sports drink that says it's raspberry flavored, I can guarantee this item has no idea where it originated from, other than maybe a laboratory or factory. A fresh apple, however, that's a straight line from the source, and the body actually knows what to do with it. One of the reasons we in developed countries are so fat is we eat all sorts of industrially created foods. Our bodies do not know what to do with these foods, and they essentially store the calories as fat. And you can see this, especially in the United States, immigrants from other parts of the world. It's very interesting. Our bodies do not know what to do with these foods. But fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, whole beans, simple meats, fish, and sour dairy products, if you stick to these foods, you will really do quite well in terms of maintaining or losing fat weight. And this is how I do it. along with regular exercising, meaning I go for a walk every day, even if that means walking in circles while listening to a podcast in my living room, hiking, and simple floor exercises. And there's all sorts of wonderful programs on chair yoga these days. So it really is, you can do things very simply and inexpensively. Now, I'm hoping to do a big hike across Spain in a couple of years. And so this is my treat for getting this excess body fat off of me. Now, we all know there are surgical methods, which I find are very violent, and I have seen terrible outcomes. I could tell you all kinds of horror stories in my clinical practice of helping people in the aftermath of these procedures. And it seems with each new pharmaceutical that comes along, for some people, not all, but for some people, the side effects are quite awful. And there's all sorts of new wonder drugs on the market. And one in particular is a topic of news programs and entire legal conferences, teaching lawyers how to sue the manufacturers of these drugs. So please discuss any sort of program, drug, or diet with a qualified healthcare provider. It's always a good idea to get a full physical to make sure everything is okay and there's not an underlying hormonal issue or something before starting any sort of weight loss regimen. So, in spite of the boring simplicity of losing weight with healthy nutrition and moderate exercise, there are all sorts of herbs out there that have been touted as weight loss aids. So, in the spirit of the new year and the rush of all of us to shed pounds, in this week's herb of the week is Garcinia. Garcinia cambogia, and that's actually an old name for this. The proper name is Garcinia gumaguta, is known by such different names as Gamboga, Malabar tamarind, Cambodia bridalberry, which I think is interesting, and of course, Gumi Gata. Now, Garcinia cambogia is an herbal product derived from the fruit of the Malabar tamarind tree, native to Southeastern Asia, which is used as a food preservative and a flavoring agent, and has recently been used in herbal weight loss products. Garcinia gumagata is a tropical species of Garcinia, as I said before, native to South Asia and Southeast Asia. The fruit looks like a small pumpkin and is green to pale yellow in color. This plant is grown for its fruit, and there are all sorts of Garcinia species from the plant family Clusaceae, with its thin skin and deep vertical lobes, uh, range from the size of an orange to that of a grapefruit. And this fruit, as you can see from this really pretty slide, it really looks kind of like a small greenish pumpkin, but the color can vary considerably. Now, the modern uses of Garcinia, it's really interesting when you look this uh, herb up. It just says weight loss in about 17 different sentences. Um, but it really basically does the weight loss by suppressing appetite. And it seems to specifically stop craving for fatty food. It also has what are called thermogenic properties, which means it's considered as a fat burner. And some studies say that it alters cholesterol levels and it lowers LDL. Um, so that's not exactly fabulous. You want those. So, anyways, that's what that does. But it's also very high in vitamin C. So, anything that vitamin C is good for, this plant will help you. But there are cautions in pregnancy, breastfeeding. Please do not use this. And also, people who have liver problems. It tends to really wreak havoc on the liver. In fact, the FDA in the United States considers it unsafe. They don't say it doesn't do anything. They basically say don't use it. So it also interferes with medications for diabetes, heart problems, and it's also not good for people who have had a history of hepatitis. Now, in Ayurveda, it's called Vrikshamla, and there's been a lot of not good press on Garcinia. So sometimes herb manufacturers will put different names on products so that people don't have negative connotations with it. But this is actually the proper name in Ayurveda. And it is sour. It's considered sour, and it also pacifies the vata and kapha. And mostly is touted for weight loss because these two properties, the sour property and the vata and kapha pacifying, are good for weight loss in this type of medical paradigm. Now, this is a wonderful slide showing all sorts of chemicals which are in Garcinia. And the big one, specific for weight loss, is found in the fruit's rind, and it's called hydroxycitric acid, or HCA. And what this seems to do is it blocks an enzyme called citrate lysase, which the body uses to make fat. It also raises the level of the brain chemical serotonin, which is the pleasure hormone. And if you eat things like chocolate, that also raises your brain serotonin, which makes you feel hungry or makes you feel happy. And if you have more serotonin in your body, you just basically feel less hungry. Now, it also plays an important role in fat synthesis. But the sticky wicket is the effect of the hydroxycitric acid in the liver. And this is why people with liver problems do very poorly on this. But we have seen in rat studies that it reduces insulin resistance. And as I said before, the Food and Drug Administration considers this unsafe. So take from that as you will. In 2017, they basically put a warning out against this, especially if you've had liver problems. It interacts badly with people who are on diabetes medication, specifically insulin, and it's because it works on those receptors. It contradicts pain medication, and it's also if you are on any type of medication for depression or mental illness, this will definitely affect that. So it's a serious herb. Now, the issue with this herb, and this is a brown fat cell, and it's the hormone receptors on the fat cells. And when fat cells get big, which means they're storing lots of fat, the receptors are not as sensitive. And this is my non-scientific explanation. It basically stretches these receptors on the surface of the fat cell, and they're not as sensitive to hormones and clues from different chemicals in the body. And this alters your insulin levels, which in turn alters how the body metabolizes fat. And the cell receptors are where Garcinia acts, which is why there's so much caution involved with its use. So, buyer beware. I have no experience growing this herb, and because of where it is indigenous, one would need to be in a certain climate in order to grow it. So I don't think you could go to Finland and see a Garcinia tree in the backyard. But thankfully, there are several sites which sell seeds for this beautiful tree. And if you want to grow this, in an area that is hospitable. I've included these sites in the program notes. Now, I must confess, I tried this herb personally in my long journey of weight in my body. And I must say, I had no amazing effects or outcomes either way. I just didn't notice anything. And I'm a kapha person. So apparently, it did not affect that part of me. And as always, individual results may vary. Some people swear by this herb. So if you're not on certain medications or have liver disease or pregnancy or breastfeeding, you may be quite happy about this lovely herb. So just educate yourself with, as with everything. But I want to tell you there's, you know, eating healthy food that remembers where it comes from and continuous moderate exercise, you will see amazing results with that. So this is Stephanie Georgia saying thanks so much for sharing your valuable time with me. And until next time, be well.